Hello, I'm Glenda from Chocolate Baroque and this is Purdy. She's the latest addition to our family, but this video is not about Purdy, cute as she is. What I'm going to show you today is how I've made this card using our Autumn Edges stamps and using Brushos to get that lovely colouring. Okay, so let's get started. First thing we need is our stamps, and I'm using the Autumn Edges set, which has got these 5 lovely borders and this lovely tree set, which is the one that I'm going to use. So I need to get this stamp inked up. Now the ink that I'm using is Versafine, which is a waterproof ink. So once this is dry, it won't run or bleed when it gets wet, and that's important for this particular technique. So you just lay that down gently, press firmly, and there you've got your stamped image. We're going to be working with Brushos for this card, and Brushos are powdered colour that come as a powder in these little pots, and because it's a powder you can mix it with water to make a very strong colour, very pale colour, depends how much water you add, but you can take advantage of the powder and use it to sprinkle the colour onto wet paper or sprinkle it onto dry paper and then spritz it. So let me just show you before I do the card just how that works. So first of all I'm going to put some water on part of this tag. This is a watercolour paper tag. It's actually from the Julie Nutting range from Prima. So I've got water just on the bottom half there, and if I just tap a little colour from the Brusho pot, you can see how it reacts with the water there, and the colour instantly dissolves into any moisture that's there. If I put it on dry, I can then take a water spritzer and I can spritz, and the closer you are, the more it pushes the pigments around. The higher you are, the more it just drifts down and catches it. So again, you'll get a slightly different effect. And the more water you put on, the more you just get colour. So I can just blend that with a brush and you'll see that the crystals dissolve and just give you colour. So understanding how these crystals react to water gives you the information you need to be able to create effects, as we're going to do on this card. Now this stamp has got 3 trees on which are in different seasons, and that's great because we can play with the colours. We can have a nice bright leafy green for the summer tree, we can have autumn colours with golds and oranges for the autumn tree, and then perhaps just some blues for a sky on the winter tree. So what I'm going to do is just mist the card lightly, because the dry pigments sometimes can roll around and get mixed up, whereas if you sprinkle them onto slightly wet card, then they'll stay where they are better. So I'm going to start with leaf green for this tree here and just sprinkle a few. Don't worry about it going off the tree because that's part of the effect. So just a little bit there. I'm going to add some yellow to that as well. And the yellow, I don't mind if it goes onto the autumn tree because that's part of the autumn colours. And then a tiny bit of emerald green for the summer tree here. And the amount that comes out depends on how big you've made the hole. Okay, so for the autumn tree I'm going to add just a little bit of scarlet. And a little bit more of that leaf green. You can see the paper's drying out, so these pigments are looking much drier now and there. And the winter tree, I need the turquoise. And just give that a little bit of a mist. Right, so let's just Like that. Now don't worry about the card curling up because we flatten that afterwards. Okay, I don't want to overdo it because my colours will all start to run together. I can let that dry and I can always go back and mist it again, and any dry pigment will be caught with the next lot of misting, but the colours won't then bleed together. Now one little thing, if you think the colour is too strong, which I do on this turquoise tree here, I think that's far too dark and you can't see the tree, so I'm just going to take a bit of kitchen towel and just blot that slightly. There we go. I might just blot the little bit on that autumn tree as well. So we've dried that off now, and what I'm going to do is just take some water and spritz it with a little water. Now, a lot of water-based mediums like this, and watercolour in particular, will react with water even after they're dry, so water will reactivate the pigments and that allows you to lift some colour. What I'm doing here is I'm just spritzing into my hand so that I can then splatter the water onto the card and get bigger drops than you would get from just the mister itself. I'm going to leave that to sit there for a few seconds, and that just lets the water soak in through the pigment, and then you blot it and that will lift some of the pigment off and create little sort of white dots. And you can actually see the colour coming off there. You can see here there's little areas of white where it's just lifted the colour, so that just adds to that sort of splattered look. So here's the finished card, and as you can see with this technique there's a certain amount of serendipity, because here's another one made with the same colours and same technique, but you get a different result every time. And I've got one more to show you, which is one that I made earlier just using blues, that's the ultramarine at the bottom and the turquoise at the top. So you can see that each time you use them you get different effects, and my advice would be to just play, experiment and have fun with it.